The operating room was freezing, but the chill I felt wasn't from the temperature, it was from betrayal. I was already prepped for surgery. The heart monitor beeped steadily beside me, each sound like a countdown to something I couldn't quite name. Dr. Langston, the head surgeon, stood at my side with the calm detachment of someone who had cut into hundreds of bodies before mine. I had signed the consent papers moments ago, the pen trembling in my fingers as cameras flashed through the glass windows behind him. Reporters waited outside, their microphones poised like weapons, ready to turn my self-sacrifice into tomorrow's headline. Mother of billionaire donates kidney to save son, the ultimate maternal love. My daughter-in-law, Emily, stood beside her wealthy parents, arms crossed, eyes like steel. She had orchestrated the media circus, making sure the world saw me as the devoted mother she needed me to be, for their image, for control, for something far darker. And just as the anesthesia needle drew closer to my skin, the door to the surgical room burst open. "Grandma!" It was Jonah, my 9-year-old grandson, cheeks flushed, school sweater half unzipped, holding something small and glowing in his palm. His voice trembled, but it rang across the room like a courtroom verdict. "Should I tell everyone why Dad really needs your kidney?" The room froze. The needle hovered. My heart skipped a beat. Emily banged on the glass from outside. "Don't listen to him!" she screamed, panic breaking through her polished facade. Jonah's small voice came again, louder this time. "I have proof." I heard what she said. I recorded it. "Grandma, should I play it?" And in that moment, everything I thought I knew about my son, my family, my role as a mother, crumbled like ash. But to understand how I ended up on that operating table, with my grandson holding our family's darkest secret, I need to go back to the beginning, back to when I still believed in my son's world. My name is Ruth Holloway. I'm 58 years old, a widow for nearly 20 years, and I've spent my entire life in Maplewood, New Jersey. It's not a glamorous place, but it's mine. A modest 3-bedroom house with worn hardwood floors and a garden where the tulips come back every spring, no matter how harsh the winter. I raised 2 sons in that house after my husband died of a heart attack at 42. Noah, my eldest, brilliant, driven, and now a wealthy political consultant with a massive following. And Leo, my younger one, quiet and loyal, who works in youth outreach helping troubled teens. I did my best with both of them, but somewhere along the way, Noah began to drift into a world I barely recognized. A world of status, of headlines, of Emily. I remember the day Noah brought her home for the first time. It was a crisp October afternoon, and I had made my famous pot roast, hoping to impress this woman who had captured my ambitious son's attention. Emily Rhodes entered our lives like a storm with lip gloss. Elegant, eloquent, endlessly polite. She commented on my quaint little home with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. Behind her charming demeanor was someone always pulling strings. "Your son is going to change the world, Mrs. Holloway," she said, placing her manicured hand over mine. "And I'm going to make sure everyone knows it." She married Noah 6 months later in a ceremony that made the local newspapers. At 28, she turned my son's image into a golden brand. Everything was calculated, from how he dressed to the charities he supported, to what flavor of water he drank at press conferences. I watched my son transform from the boy who used to help me plant vegetables to a man who couldn't remember which side of the garden got the most sun. But I stayed quiet. Mothers do that sometimes. We mistake our silence for support. When Noah's health began to decline, fatigue, weakness, and unexplained symptoms, I was the first person he called. Not Emily. Me. It felt like a bridge back to the son I'd been losing. "Mom, the doctors want to run some tests," he said, his voice smaller than it had been in years. "Can you come with me?" I sat with him through blood draws and scans, holding his hand like I did when he was a child afraid of needles. The doctors diagnosed early-stage renal failure. His blood type made him difficult to match for a transplant. "We'll get through this," I promised him. Together. But that night, Emily came to my house alone. She didn't cry, she didn't plead. She simply slid a folder across my kitchen table, medical reports enclosed, and said, "You're a match, Ruth. You know what to do. It's your obligation as his mother." I stared at her, stunned by the coldness. "Emily, of course I'd do anything for my son, but this is major surgery. My body, my health." She cut me off with a wave of her hand. "Do you want the world to think you let your son die because you were scared?" That's when I realized this wasn't about saving Noah. This was about owning the narrative. My sacrifice would become her press conference. Before I could respond, she stood up. We've scheduled the preliminary tests for next week. I'll send a car. And Ruth? She paused at the door. We're announcing this to the press tomorrow. It would be best if you appeared willing. After she left, I sat in my kitchen for hours, the folder untouched before me. The house had never felt so empty. I called Leo, who answered on the first ring despite the late hour. Mom, everything okay? I told him about Noah's diagnosis, about Emily's visit, about the coldness in her eyes when she spoke of my obligation. Don't do anything you're not comfortable with, Leo said firmly. This is your body we're talking about, your life, but it's Noah's life too, I whispered. Just promise me you'll think about it. Really think about it. Something doesn't feel right. I promised, but by morning, the decision seemed to have been made for me. My phone buzzed with notifications, friends sending links to news articles, distant relatives calling to commend my bravery. Noah Holloway, rising political star, to receive kidney from mother in act of extraordinary love, read the headline in the Maplewood Chronicle. The article quoted Emily extensively about my immediate and selfless decision to donate. There was even a statement attributed to me that I never gave. By noon, flowers started arriving, not from Noah, but from Emily's contacts. Each bouquet came with a card thanking me for my brave sacrifice and expressing admiration for my maternal devotion. I felt trapped in a story someone else was writing. That evening, as I sat on my porch watching the sunset, a small figure appeared at the end of my driveway. Jonah, my grandson, in his baseball uniform, clutching his glove. Grandma, he said, climbing the steps slowly. Did you really say you'd give Dad your kidney? I patted the seat next to me. Come sit, sweetheart. He settled beside me, his small body warm against mine. I heard Mom talking about it on the phone. She sounded happy, but not normal happy. What do you mean? He scrunched up his face, thinking. Like when she gets what she wants from people. That kind of happy. Out of the mouths of babes. I put my arm around him, breathing in the scent of grass and little boy sweat. Your dad needs help, I said carefully, and I might be able to give it to him. But are you scared? He asked, his blue eyes, so like Noah's when he was young, wide with concern. A little, I admitted. But sometimes we do scary things for people we love. What I didn't tell him was that the fear creeping through me wasn't about the surgery. It was about the coldness in Emily's eyes. It was about the way my life had suddenly become public property. It was about the feeling that something was very wrong in my son's perfect house on the hill. I just didn't know what, yet. The days that followed swirled around me like leaves in a storm. Emily's publicity machine went into overdrive. I was swept into meetings with doctors, counselors, and, bizarrely, stylists. A woman named Cynthia arrived at my door with a rack of camera-friendly outfits for my hospital appearances. Mrs. Holloway, the burgundy brings out the sincerity in your eyes, she said, holding up a blouse that cost more than my monthly pension. We want you to look relatable but dignified. I wanted to tell her my old cardigan and slacks had been dignified enough for the 40 years I'd spent teaching fifth graders, but I bit my tongue. This wasn't about me anymore. It was about Noah, or so I thought. Dr. Langston, the transplant surgeon, met with me privately. He was a tall, serious man with kind eyes that seemed at odds with his clinical demeanor. Mrs. Holloway, I want to make sure you understand the risks involved, he said, studying my face. Kidney donation is major surgery. The recovery period is significant, and while most donors lead normal lives afterward, there are potential long-term complications. I understand, I replied, but he's my son. Dr. Langston nodded slowly. I've been doing this for 30 years, Mrs. Holloway. I've seen many families go through this process. It's emotional, complex. He paused. I need to know that this is your decision, not your daughter-in-law's, not the public's, yours. Something in his tone made me look up sharply. What are you saying, doctor? He glanced toward the closed door of his office. I'm saying that, in my experience, the healthiest donations come from the healthiest decisions. Pressure is not healthy. Before I could respond, there was a knock at the door, and Emily swept in. Dr. Langston, I hope you're giving my mother-in-law all the reassurance she needs. Her smile was dazzling, practiced. The family is beyond grateful for your expertise in this difficult time. The doctor's expression shifted subtly. Ms. Rhodes Holloway, I was just finishing my consultation with Mrs. Holloway. Medical privacy protocols. Oh, of course. Emily interrupted, taking my arm. But we're all family here, and we're on a tight schedule today. The photographer from the Chronicle is waiting to capture Ruth signing the consent forms. A beautiful moment of maternal courage. I felt a coldness spread through me that had nothing to do with the hospital's air conditioning. As Emily guided me from the room, Dr. Langston caught my eye. "Mrs. Holloway," he said quietly, "my door is always open if you have questions." Later that afternoon, I sat in Noah's home office waiting to see my son. The house was a modernist masterpiece on 3 acres, all glass and angles and imported stone. Beautiful but sterile, like something from a magazine rather than a home where a child grew up. Jonah's toys were confined to his room and a small area of the basement that had been converted into a play zone. I ran my fingers along the edge of Noah's desk, noticing a photo of him with the governor, another with a famous actor. None with me or Leo. None with Jonah. "Mom?" I turned to find Noah standing in the doorway, looking thinner than he had the week before. His expensive shirt hung loosely on his frame. "Noah." I stood, arms outstretched. He came to me, his hug careful, as if he might break me. Or perhaps as if I might break him. "Emily told me about the donation," he said, sitting heavily in his desk chair. I don't know what to say." "You don't have to say anything," I replied, studying his face. The dark circles under his eyes, the pallor of his skin. My beautiful boy, now a man of 40, looking suddenly old. "I didn't ask for this," he said softly. "For any of it. The press, the photos." "I know," I touched his hand. "But Emily thinks about image," he interrupted, a flash of the old Noah breaking through. "Always has. But this is different. This is you, Mom. Your health, your life, and yours," I reminded him. He looked away. "The doctors say I could manage with dialysis for now. Look for other donors. There are options." Something shifted in my chest, a small doubt growing larger. If Noah wasn't pushing for my kidney, why was Emily so insistent? "Noah," I began carefully. "How are things?" "Really?" He sighed, rubbing his temples. "Complicated. The business there's pressure. And Emily's father has invested heavily in the new political action committee. They're positioning me for a run at state senate next year." "While you're sick?" I couldn't keep the shock from my voice. "Illness can be compelling, according to our strategist." His laugh was hollow. The brave candidate overcoming personal adversity. Great narrative. Before I could respond, the office door opened. Emily stood there, impeccable in a cream suit, her smile tight at the edges. "There you are, darling. The reporter from the Post is waiting. And Ruth, the photographer wants some shots of you with the consent papers before the light changes." "We're talking, Emily," Noah said, an edge to his voice I hadn't heard him use with her before. Her smile didn't waver. "Of course you are. But we have a schedule to keep. Your father-in-law has arranged for the senator to call in 15 minutes to express his support." Noah's shoulders slumped almost imperceptibly. "We'll finish this later, Mom." As Emily ushered me out, I glanced back at my son. He looked lost in his own life, a stranger in the success he'd built. That night, sleep eluded me. I tossed in my bed, replaying the conversation with Noah, the warning in Dr. Langston's eyes, the artificial brightness of Emily's smile. Around midnight, my phone rang. Leo's name lit up the screen. "You need to come over," he said without preamble. "Now. There's something you should see." 30 minutes later, I sat in Leo's modest apartment, staring at his laptop screen. He had pulled up financial records, medical reports, emails, a digital trail that made my stomach turn. "How did you get these?" I asked, voice barely above a whisper. Leo ran a hand through his hair, so like his father's. "Jonah. He came to me yesterday, scared. Said he found papers in Emily's home office that didn't make sense. He took pictures with his tablet." He paused. "The kid's smarter than they give him credit for." I scanned the documents again, piecing together a story that chilled me to the bone. Large withdrawals from accounts Noah likely didn't know existed. Communications with private doctors outside the regular transplant team. And most disturbing, medical reports showing Noah's kidney function declining at an unusually rapid rate over the past 6 months. "Leo," I breathed, "are you saying—" "I don't know for sure," he cut in. "But something's not right, Mom. These medications," he pointed to a receipt, "they're not on Noah's official prescription list. I checked with a friend who's a pharmacist. In high doses, they can accelerate kidney damage." I felt the room tilt slightly. "But why would Emily—" "Her own husband?" Leo's expression was grim. Control? Money? Power of attorney? If Noah becomes too sick to manage his affairs, she'd take over. Everything, I finished, horror dawning. The business, the political connections, the fortune. And if you give him your kidney while he's still being exposed to whatever's making him sick, it won't save him, I whispered. It'll just buy time. For her. The realization settled over me like ice. Emily wasn't orchestrating a life-saving procedure. She was staging an elaborate cover for something much darker, and I had almost become an unwitting accomplice. What do we do? I asked, my teacher's instinct to find a solution kicking in despite my shock. Leo closed the laptop. We need proof, concrete proof that Emily is deliberately harming Noah. And we need to make sure you don't go through with this surgery until we have it. Noah won't believe us without evidence, I said, thinking of my son's blind spot when it came to his wife. He'll think we're interfering, jealous of his success. That's why we need Jonah, Leo replied. Emily lets her guard down around him, thinks he's just a kid who doesn't understand adult conversations. I thought of my grandson's serious eyes, his quiet perception. I can't put him in danger, Leo. He's already in danger, Mom. We all are. Emily's playing a long game here, and she's using all of us as pieces. As I drove home in the dark, my mind raced with possibilities, none of them good. The surgery was scheduled for the following week. Time was running out. What I didn't know then was that Jonah had already set a plan in motion, a plan that would bring everything crashing down in the most public way possible. A plan that would end with me on an operating table, a needle hovering over my skin, and my grandson bursting through the door with the truth that would save us all. The weekend before the scheduled surgery, Emily arranged a family dinner at their home, another carefully orchestrated photo opportunity. Local media had been invited for candid shots of our family's unity in the face of Noah's health crisis. I arrived early, hoping to have a moment alone with my son, but Emily intercepted me at the door. Ruth, perfect timing. Her smile was bright as a warning light. The makeup artist is waiting in the guest room. Nothing heavy, just a touch-up. We want you to look natural but refreshed for the photos. I clutched my purse tighter. I'd like to see Noah first. Something flickered behind her. Eyes, irritation, quickly masked. He's resting before dinner. Doctor's orders. She linked her arm through mine, guiding me up the sweeping staircase. We have the governor calling during dessert to wish you both well. Timing is crucial. As we passed Jonah's room, the door cracked open. My grandson peered out, his small face solemn. Hi, Grandma, he said quietly. Emily barely paused. Jonah? Darling, I told you to stay in your room until dinner. Mrs. Patterson is helping you with your speech, remember? I stopped, pulling my arm free from Emily's. Speech? Just a few words about how brave his grandmother is, Emily explained smoothly. The media will eat it up. Child's perspective, pure emotion. We've had it professionally written, of course. I knelt down to Jonah's level, ignoring Emily's impatient shift behind me. I'd love to hear what you have to say, sweetheart. In your own words. Jonah's eyes darted to his mother, then back to me. Can I show you something in my room first, Grandma? It's important. Before Emily could object, I stood and followed Jonah inside, closing the door firmly behind us. His room was immaculate, too perfect for a 9-year-old boy. No toys, scattered on the floor, no half-finished projects on the desk. Everything in its designated place. Mom doesn't like it when I mess up my room, he explained, noticing my gaze. She says it ruins the aesthetic. He pulled me toward his closet, glancing nervously at the door. From behind a row of pressed shirts, he retrieved a small device, an old smartphone. It was Dad's, he whispered. Before, Mom got him the new one. She was going to throw it away, but I kept it. I figured out the password. My heart raced. Jonah, I heard them fighting, he continued urgently. Last night, Mom and Grandpa Rhodes, about Dad's medicine, about you. His small fingers worked the screen. I recorded it. He pressed play, and Emily's voice filled the room, low but distinct. Father, we've been over this. The kidney is just insurance. Once Ruth signs the consent and the transplant is complete, the doctors will never know. Noah will never trace it back. He'll be ours, legally and medically. An older male voice, Emily's father, responded, and if the old woman backs out? She won't. I've made sure the public narrative is too powerful. She'll look like a monster if she refuses now. Besides, she's always been pathetically eager to please Noah. It's almost too easy. I felt the blood drain from my face as the recording continued. The new dosage is working perfectly. Dr. Chen reports kidney function down another 12%. By next month, Noah will be completely dependent on us for all decisions. The power of attorney is ready. I just need his signature when he's having one of his bad days. A cold laugh. And with his mother's kidney failing alongside his, no one will question when both deteriorate. They'll blame genetics. Bad luck. Meanwhile, we'll have complete control of the Holloway Empire and the political connections we need. The recording ended. Jonah looked up at me, his eyes wide with a child's fear and an old soul's understanding. Are they hurting, Dad? And are they going to hurt you too, Grandma? I pulled him close, my mind racing through implications too terrible to fully process. Jonah, this is very serious. Have you shown this to anyone else? Uncle Leo, he nodded. Yesterday, when Mom thought I was at baseball practice, he made copies. A knock at the door made us both jump. Emily's voice came through, sharp with impatience. Ruth, the makeup artist is waiting, and Jonah needs to practice his speech. I looked down at my grandson, this small boy carrying such a dangerous truth. Hide this, I whispered, indicating the phone. Don't let anyone know you have it. I need to talk to Uncle Leo. What about Dad? Jonah asked, his voice trembling slightly. The question struck my heart like a hammer. What about Noah, my son, being slowly poisoned by the woman he married, the mother of his child? How could I protect him without putting Jonah at risk? One step at a time, I said, trying to sound more confident than I felt. Keep the phone safe. Don't eat or drink anything you haven't seen someone else taste first, okay? His nod was solemn, too knowing for his years. I hugged him fiercely before opening the door to face Emily's calculated smile. The dinner was a surreal performance. Photographers captured our intimate family moment from various angles. Noah looked exhausted, but gamely played his part, raising toast to my brave mother and my supportive wife. Emily directed the entire production with subtle gestures and meaningful glances, positioning us like dolls in a macabre display. Through it all, Jonah sat, quietly, picking at his food, his eyes moving between his father and me. When it came time for his speech, he stood reluctantly, the paper Emily had prepared clutched in his small hand. My grandmother is a hero, he began, his voice small in the large dining room. The cameras clicked furiously. Emily beamed with satisfaction. Then Jonah lowered the paper. But I think heroes shouldn't have to do things that scare them just because other people say they should. Emily's smile froze. Noah looked up, suddenly more alert than he'd been all evening. My dad always told me that true courage means standing up for what's right, even when it's hard. Jonah's voice grew stronger. And I think what's right is for Grandma to make her own choices, about her kidney, about everything. The room fell, silent. Emily rose swiftly. Well, isn't that sweet? Children's perspectives are so refreshingly simple. Now who's ready for dessert? The governor will be calling in 5 minutes. As she herded the photographers toward the kitchen, Noah reached for Jonah's hand. That was unexpected, he said softly. But good, buddy. Really good. I caught Jonah's eye across the table and gave him a small nod. In that moment, something shifted between us, an alliance forged in silence and truth. Later, as I was preparing to leave, Noah walked me to the door, away from the lingering reporters and Emily's watchful gaze. Mom, he said quietly, is everything okay? With the surgery, with all of this? He gestured vaguely at the media circus on his front lawn. I looked at my son, really looked at, him, for the first time in months. The pallor of his skin, the slight tremor in his hands, whatever Emily was doing to him, it was working. He was fading before my eyes. Noah, I said carefully, when was the last time you saw your regular doctor? Not the specialists Emily found, but your old physician. He frowned. Dr. Brenner? Not since... I can't remember, actually. Emily says the new team is more experienced with renal issues. Would you consider getting a second opinion? Before the surgery? His frown deepened. Mom, we've been through all the opinions. The transplant is scheduled. Everything's arranged. But if there were alternatives, there aren't. His voice was suddenly firm, a glimpse of the decisive man he'd once been. Emily has researched everything. This is the only way. He squeezed my hand. I know it's a lot to ask, but I'm asking. Please, Mom. How could I tell him? How could I shatter his world with the truth about the woman he loved, the mother of his child, without proof beyond a child's recording, without medical evidence of deliberate harm? I kissed his cheek. I'll see you at the hospital on Tuesday. As I drove away, I called Leo from my car. We need to move faster, I said without preamble. The surgery is Tuesday. If we don't stop this now, both Noah and I could be at risk. I'm working on it, Leo replied, his voice tight with tension. I've spoken to Dr. Langston confidentially. He's suspicious too, but needs more evidence before he can intervene. Jonah showed me a recording. Emily and her father, they're deliberately making Noah sicker. And they plan to do the same to me after the transplant. Leo's sharp intake of breath was audible. Jesus, Mom, that's attempted murder. We need proof the doctors will believe. Medical proof. I'm meeting with a specialist tomorrow who can review Noah's records. If there's evidence of deliberate poisoning, we'll find it. I gripped the steering wheel tighter. And if we can't? If we can't convince Noah before Tuesday? Leo's voice was grim. Then we stop the surgery by any means necessary, even if it means going public with what we know. I thought of Noah's face when he asked me for my kidney. The trust there, the love. And I thought of Emily's cold calculation, her willingness to destroy her husband for power and money. Whatever it takes, I agreed. I won't let her hurt my son anymore. Monday morning dawned with a sense of foreboding. One day until the surgery. One day to uncover enough proof to stop Emily without destroying Noah in the process. I was packing an overnight bag for the hospital when my doorbell rang. Dr. Langston stood on my porch, his expression grave. Mrs. Holloway, he said formally. May I come in? This isn't an official visit. I ushered him into my living room, anxiety tightening my chest. Has something changed with the surgery? He remained standing, his tall frame tense. I received some concerning test results this morning. Your son's latest blood work shows trace amounts of a compound that shouldn't be there. It's not immediately life-threatening, but it's unusual enough that I ordered additional screening. Hope and dread mingled in my stomach. What kind of compound? A derivative of certain anti-rejection medications. In small doses, it mimics renal distress. In larger doses, over time, he met my eyes directly. It can cause permanent kidney damage. My hands began to shake. You're saying someone is poisoning my son. I'm saying there are anomalies that cannot be explained by natural disease. Progression. His voice was measured, careful. Mrs. Holloway, has your son mentioned any supplements or alternative treatments his wife might be administering at home? No, but I hesitated, then decided to trust this man who had shown subtle concern from the beginning. My grandson recorded a conversation between Emily and her father. They spoke explicitly about controlling Noah's medication to make him dependent on them, about securing power of attorney when he becomes too ill to manage his affairs. Dr. Langston's professional demeanor cracked slightly. That would constitute criminal activity. Do you still have this recording? My younger son has copies, and Jonah has the original. He nodded briskly. I've temporarily suspended tomorrow's procedure citing medical concerns. I can buy us 48 hours at most before questions arise. Relief flooded through me, quickly followed by a new anxiety. Emily will be furious. She's built this whole media narrative around the surgery happening tomorrow. Let her be furious, Dr. Langston replied, a steely edge to his voice. I've practiced medicine for 30 years, Mrs. Holloway. I've seen family dynamics turn toxic around illness and money, but I've never seen something this calculated. As if summoned by our conversation, my phone rang. Emily's name flashed on the screen. She's calling now, I told Dr. Langston. Put it on speaker, he instructed, moving closer. I answered, my finger pressing the speaker button. Hello, Emily. Ruth. Her voice was tight, controlled anger vibrating beneath the surface. I've just had a very disturbing call from the transplant center. Apparently, Dr. Langston has decided to delay the procedure. Did you know about this? I just found out myself, I replied, trying to keep my voice neutral. This is unacceptable. The pretense of warmth had vanished from her tone. We have media coverage scheduled. The governor's office has issued a statement. Noah needs this kidney, Ruth. If the doctors say we need to wait, the doctors work for us, she snapped. I've already called the hospital board. Dr. Langston will be removed from the case by this afternoon. The surgery will proceed as planned. Dr. Langston's eyebrows rose, but he remained silent. Emily, I said carefully, if there are medical concerns, the only concern is your commitment, she interrupted. I'm beginning to wonder if you're having second thoughts about saving your son's life. How would that look to the public, I wonder? The selfish mother who backed out at the last minute? The threat was unmistakable. Before I could respond, she continued, her voice suddenly syrupy again. The car will pick you up at 6 tomorrow morning. Wear the blue sweater we chose. It photographs well with hospital lighting. And Ruth, no more discussions with doctors unless I'm present. Family decisions stay within the family. The call ended. Dr. Langston and I looked at each other. She's going to try to force this through, he said quietly. Can she do that? Replace you? He sighed heavily. Her father sits on the hospital board, and your son's donations funded the new transplant wing. Influence is a powerful thing. Mrs. Holloway. My phone buzzed with a text from Leo. Got the test results. Meeting with police now. Stall if you can. I showed Dr. Langston the message. My son is gathering evidence. Good. I'll do everything in my power to prevent this surgery from happening tomorrow. But you should prepare yourself, Mrs. Holloway. If Emily Rhodes has the influence she claims, we may be fighting an uphill battle. After Dr. Langston left, I sat in my quiet living room, turning over options in my mind. If we couldn't stop the surgery administratively, what then? I couldn't simply not show up. Emily would spin that narrative against me, perhaps even turning Noah against me in his vulnerable state. I needed to speak to my son directly, to make him understand the danger he was in. But Emily had effectively isolated him, controlling his visitors, his medication, his perception of reality itself. My doorbell rang again, this time revealing Jonah, accompanied by his school's assistant principal, Mrs. Grayson. I'm so sorry to interrupt your day, Mrs. Holloway, Mrs. Grayson said, looking concerned. Jonah insisted we bring him here instead of calling his mother. He said it was an emergency. I thanked her and ushered Jonah inside. Once Mrs. Grayson had left, Jonah's calm facade crumbled. Grandma, Mom knows, he blurted, eyes wide with fear. She found out I took Dad's old phone. She was going through my room this morning and saw me hiding it. My blood ran cold. Did she see what was on it? The recordings? He shook his head. I don't think so. I had it password protected, but she was really angry. She called Grandpa Rhodes and told him they needed to accelerate the timeline because of complications. His voice trembled. Then she said they needed to make sure you showed up tomorrow no matter what, that they couldn't risk any more delays. I pulled him close, my mind racing. Does she know you're here? No. I told the school nurse I felt sick. Mrs. Grayson said she'd call Mom, but I begged her to bring me to you first. He looked up at me, suddenly seeming much older than 9. Grandma, I think they're going to hurt Dad tonight. I heard Mom telling Grandpa they needed to make sure Dad couldn't interfere with tomorrow's schedule. A chill ran through me. If Emily knew we were onto her, she might indeed accelerate her plans. Noah was in danger. Immediate danger. I called Leo, explaining the situation in terse sentences while Jonah sat beside me, his small hand clutching mine. I'm at the police station now, Leo replied. They're taking this seriously, Mom. The toxicology reports are clear evidence of deliberate poisoning. They're preparing to question Emily, but these things take time. Warrants, procedures. We don't have time, I insisted. Noah is in danger now. Today. I'll see what I can do to speed things up. Meanwhile, keep Jonah with you. He's not safe with Emily. After hanging up, I made another decision. I called Noah directly. To my surprise, he answered, his voice weak but clear. Mom, aren't you supposed to be resting before tomorrow? Noah, listen to me carefully, I said, choosing my words with precision. I need you to come to my house right now, without telling Emily. It's important. Life or death important. Silence stretched between us. Then, Mom, what's going on? Emily said you might try to back out, that you might make up stories. Jonah is here with me, I interrupted. He's afraid, Noah, for you, for all of us. Please, just come, see your son, hear what he has to say. Another long pause. I could almost hear him weighing loyalties, possibilities. I'll be there in 30 minutes, he finally said. But Mom, no dramatic accusations, okay? I'm not strong enough for family drama right now. The irony of his statement would have made me laugh if the situation weren't so dire. Just come, I repeated softly. That's all I ask. As I hung up, Jonah looked at me with a mixture of hope and fear. Is Dad coming? Yes, I assured him. And this time, we'll make him listen. What I didn't know then was that Emily was already putting her contingency plan into motion, one that would culminate the next morning in an operating room, with cameras flashing, a needle hovering above my skin, and my brave grandson bursting through the door with the truth that would save us all. Noah arrived looking worse than I'd expected, pale with a slight tremor in his hands that he tried to hide by keeping them in his pockets. When Jonah ran to him, Noah's embrace seemed to require more strength than it should have. Hey, buddy. he said, kneeling to Jonah's level. School let out early? Jonah looked at me, uncertainty in his eyes. I nodded encouragingly. Dad, he began, his voice small but determined. Mom is making you sick. Noah's expression shifted from confusion to concern. What are you talking about? The medicine she gives you at night, the special tea. I heard her talking to Grandpa Rhodes about dosages and making sure you can't make decisions anymore. Noah looked up at me, his face hardening. Mom, what have you been telling him? Nothing he didn't discover himself, I replied, calmly. Noah, please sit down. You need to hear this. Reluctantly, he settled onto my couch, Jonah pressing close beside him. I remained standing, trying to project a confidence I didn't entirely feel. Your illness isn't progressing naturally, I said. Dr. Langston found unusual compounds in your blood work, compounds consistent with deliberate kidney damage. This is insane, Noah interrupted. But there was a flicker of something in his eyes. Doubt, perhaps. Emily has done nothing but support me through this. She's poisoning you, I continued steadily. Slowly, carefully, making you dependent on her care, weakening you until she can take legal control of your assets, your career, everything. Noah started to rise, but Jonah clutched his arm. Dad, please, I have proof. My grandson pulled out the old smartphone from his pocket. His small fingers entered the passcode, and he pressed play on the recording. Emily's voice filled my living room, clinical and cold as she discussed with her father the accelerated timeline for gaining power of attorney, the perfect dosage to ensure Noah's continued decline without raising suspicions, and their plans to handle Ruth after the transplant. Noah's face drained of what little color it had. This could be fake. Edited. You know it's not, I said gently. You know her voice. You know how she talks when she thinks no one is listening. He stared at the phone in Jonah's hand, then at his son's face. When did you record this? 2 nights ago. In the study. Mom and Grandpa Rhodes didn't know I was home. I was supposed to be at baseball practice, but Coach canceled. Noah's breathing had become shallow, his eyes unfocused. I recognized the signs of shock. I know this is overwhelming, I said, moving to sit on his other side. But we needed you to understand before tomorrow. The kidney transplant, it's part of their plan. If both of us are recovering, vulnerable, they can control everything, Noah finished, his voice hollow. The business, the political connections, the foundation. It all requires my signature, or that of my legal proxy. He looked down at his trembling hands. The symptoms started after Emily hired the new house staff, the private chef, the health consultant. I thought she was trying to help me. She's been consistent, I said. Small doses over time. Dr. Langston says it mimics natural kidney failure almost perfectly. Without specific testing for these compounds, no doctor would have suspected. Noah closed his eyes briefly. When he opened them, something had changed. A clarity, a resolve I hadn't seen in months. Jonah, does your mother know you have this recording? Jonah nodded, fear crossing his face. She found me hiding the phone this morning. She was really angry. That's why I came to Grandma. Noah pulled out his own phone, checking the screen. 8 missed calls from Emily, 3 from her father. He looked up at me. They know something's wrong. If Jonah's not at school and I'm not at home, Leo is at the police station now, I told him. The toxicology reports are clear evidence. They're preparing to question Emily. It won't be enough, Noah said, with sudden decisiveness. Not with her father's connections. We need more. More what? More evidence. More witnesses. He stood, swaying slightly before steadying himself. I need to get back to the house. I need to get into her office, her email. There will be communications, orders for the compounds, payments to the staff she's corrupted. Noah, you can't confront her. Alone, I protested. You're weak, and she's desperate. I won't confront her, he replied. I'll play along. Let her think everything's proceeding as planned. Meanwhile, I'll gather what we need and send it to Leo. I didn't like it, but I recognized the determination in his face. The same expression he'd worn as a boy when he decided to build a treehouse alone after his father died, as if proving something to himself and the world. What about Jonah? I asked. He can't go back there. He stays with you, Noah said immediately, kneeling again before his son. Buddy, I need you to be brave a little longer. Stay with Grandma tonight, okay? Don't answer calls from Mom or Grandpa Rhodes. Jonah nodded solemnly. Are you going to be okay, Dad? Noah pulled him into a fierce hug. I'm going to be fine. And so are you. I promise. As Noah prepared to leave, I pulled him aside. The surgery is scheduled for tomorrow morning. What if you can't gather enough evidence by then? I'll find a way to stop it, he assured me, even if I have to check myself into a different hospital tonight. I searched his face, my son, my firstborn, finally seeing the truth I'd been trying to show him. Be careful. She's not who we thought she was. No, he agreed grimly. She's much worse. After Noah left, Jonah and I sat in uneasy silence. I made hot chocolate, trying to create some semblance of normalcy for my grandson, who had been forced to grow up too quickly in recent days. Grandma, he said as I handed him the steaming mug, why would Mom hurt Dad like that? How do you explain calculated evil to a child? The cold mathematics of power and greed? Sometimes, I began carefully, people want things so badly they convince themselves that hurting others is justified. Your mother, she wants control and status more than she wants a healthy family. Did she ever love us? His voice was small, lost. My heart broke for him. I believe she loves you, Jonah, in her way. But sometimes love gets twisted up with other things, ambition, fear, the need to control. He seemed to consider this, sipping his chocolate thoughtfully. Dad's going to be okay, right? We stopped Mom in time? Before I could answer, my phone rang, Leo's name on the screen. The police are moving now, he said without preamble. They've obtained a warrant to search Noah and Emily's home and to question Emily. I've told them Noah is there and potentially in danger. Relief flooded through me. Thank God. But Mom, Leo continued, his voice tightening. Emily's not at the house. Noah called me a few minutes ago. The house staff said she left shortly after he did, saying something about securing the hospital situation. He thinks she's going to try to force the surgery through. Regardless, cold fear replaced my momentary relief. How? Dr. Langston suspended the procedure. Noah thinks her father is using his influence with the hospital board to reinstate it. They're claiming Dr. Langston is acting irrationally, that the tests showing toxins were contaminated. That's absurd. It's effective, Leo countered grimly, especially with the media narrative they've built. The devoted wife fighting hospital bureaucracy to save her husband, the mother-in-law getting cold feet. I glanced at Jonah, who was watching me with wide, worried eyes. What do we do now? Stay where you are, Leo instructed. Keep the doors locked. I'm coming to get you both. The police want your formal statements and they need Jonah's recording. After hanging up, I explained to Jonah in simplified terms what was happening. He took it with the same solemn maturity he'd shown throughout this nightmare. They won't believe us, will they? He asked. Because of Grandpa Rhodes and all his money. They'll believe the evidence, I assured him, though my own confidence was wavering. The truth has power, Jonah. Sometimes it takes time, but it always comes out. As we waited for Leo, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Mrs. Holloway, this is Dr. Langston. Please be advised that the transplant procedure has been reinstated for 7 a.m. tomorrow by order of the hospital board. I have been removed from the case. Exercise extreme caution. I am pursuing other channels. I stared at the message, a cold certainty settling over me. Emily was going to force this through. Evidence or no evidence. The surgery would proceed unless something dramatic intervened. And in that moment, I realized what needed to happen. The final confrontation would have to take place in the operating room itself, with witnesses present. With the truth laid bare not just to the police, but to the world Emily had so carefully manipulated. The stage was set, the players were in motion, and tomorrow morning would bring either justice or tragedy. I looked at Jonah, this brave boy who had risked everything to save his father and me. We're going to need your help one more time, I told him softly, and it might be the bravest thing you've ever done. Leo arrived 40 minutes later, tension evident in every line of his body. He hugged Jonah fiercely before turning to me. The situation is complicated, he said in a low voice as Jonah went to gather his things. Noah found documents in Emily's office, payment records to a specialty pharmacist for compounds that shouldn't be in anyone's home. He sent copies to the police, but Emily's father is throwing up roadblocks. What kind of roadblocks? I asked. Legal delays, questions about chain of custody, suggestions that Noah is mentally compromised due to his illness. Leo's expression was grim. They're building a narrative that you and Noah are conspiring to avoid the transplant, that Jonah is being manipulated by adults with an agenda. That's ridiculous. It's effective, he repeated his earlier assessment. especially with the media groundwork they've already laid. The story of maternal sacrifice suddenly becomes one of maternal betrayal. They're spinning it as we speak. My phone rang. Noah's name on the screen. I answered immediately, putting it on speaker for Leo. Mom. Noah's voice was urgent, slightly breathless. Emily came back. She knows something's wrong. I've locked myself in the home office, but she's called security. They're her people, not mine. Where's the evidence you found? Leo asked. I've sent everything to Detective Morales, but Emily's father is already working to discredit it. Mom, they're reinstating the surgery for tomorrow. New surgeon, fast-tracked approval. Her father pulled strings with the hospital board. I know, I replied. Dr. Langston texted me. Listen carefully, Noah continued, his voice dropping lower. You need to show up tomorrow as if everything is normal. Let them prep you for surgery. I'm going to be there too. I'll refuse to leave the house in the morning, and Emily won't risk a scene with the press watching. What good will that do? I asked, confusion mingling with fear. Public confrontation, Noah said simply. Emily and her father have controlled the narrative by keeping everything private, manipulating from the shadows. We need to force this into the light. How? Jonah's recording, the medical evidence, all of it, revealed in front of witnesses they can't control or silence. The operating room will be full of medical staff, hospital administrators, even press observers in the viewing area. Emily's carefully constructed image will shatter. Leo looked skeptical. That's dangerous, Noah. For all of you. More dangerous than letting them continue? Noah countered. They've been poisoning me for months. They intend to do the same to Mom after the transplant. We need to end this, completely and publicly. A crash sounded through the phone, followed by raised voices. They're coming in, Noah said quickly. I've sent you instructions by email. Everything you need to know is there. I love you both. The call ended. Abruptly. Leo and I stared at each other in horror. We need to call the police again, I said. Tell them Noah is in immediate danger. Leo was already dialing. Detective Morales? It's Leo Holloway again. My brother is being threatened at his home right now. Yes, the same address. He's barricaded in his office, but security staff are breaking in. As Leo continued the conversation, stepping into the next room for better reception, Jonah approached me, his backpack clutched to his chest. Grandma, is Dad okay? I couldn't lie to him. He's in a difficult situation, sweetheart. The police are going to help him. Because of Mom? Yes. Your mother has made some very bad choices. He nodded slowly, processing this. The recording I made? It's going to help Dad, right? It's the most important piece of evidence we have, I told him honestly. You were incredibly brave to make it. His small face hardened with resolve. Then I want to be there tomorrow, when you play it for everyone. Jonah, no. It's too dangerous. Dad needs me, he insisted. And so do you. Mom won't expect me to be there. I can bring the phone with the recording. I can show everyone the truth. I was shaking my head before he finished speaking. Absolutely not. Your father would never forgive me for putting you in that position. But I'm already in this position, he argued with a child's perfect logic. Mom already knows I took the phone. She already knows I heard her. I'm not safe anywhere until people know the truth. Leo returned, his expression troubled. Police are en route to Noah's house, but it'll take time. Apparently, there's confusion about jurisdiction. The estate straddles 2 different precincts. Another delay engineered by Emily's father, I guessed? Most likely. He noticed Jonah's determined stance. What's happening here? Jonah wants to come to the hospital tomorrow, I explained, to present the evidence himself. To my surprise, Leo didn't immediately reject the idea. He studied Jonah thoughtfully. It would be unexpected, he said slowly. Emily wouldn't anticipate it. And there's power in a child's testimony, a kind that can't be easily dismissed or explained away. He's 9 years old, I protested. We can't put him in that position. I want to help Dad, Jonah insisted. I'm not scared. Leo knelt before him. It would be scary, buddy. Your mom would be very angry. There would be lots of people watching. Are you sure you could do it? Jonah nodded, his jaw set in a way that reminded me painfully of Noah at the same age. I've been practicing being brave. Dad needs me to be brave now. I looked between them, torn between protection and necessity. If Noah's plan involved public confrontation, having Jonah there, the innocent witness whose testimony couldn't be easily discredited, might be crucial. We would protect you every second, I said finally. You wouldn't be alone for a moment. I know, Jonah said simply. That's why I can be brave. My phone buzzed with an email notification. Noah's instructions, as promised. I opened it. Leo and Jonah looking over my shoulder. Mom and Leo. By now, Emily knows something's wrong. She's called her father, and they're accelerating their timeline. The surgery is proceeding tomorrow at 7 a.m. with a new surgical team. Dr. Langston has been removed, but he's agreed to help us expose what's happening. I need you to proceed as if everything is normal. Mom, go to the hospital when they send the car. Let them prep you for surgery. Leo, you need to be there as the family representative. They won't question your presence. At 6:55 a.m., Dr. Langston will enter the operating room on the pretense of transferring records to the new surgical team. He'll have copies of the toxicology reports and evidence of Emily's interference with my treatment. Simultaneously, Detective Morales will arrive with a warrant. Timing is crucial here. The plan depends on Emily being present in the operating room or observation area. She won't miss her moment of triumph, her perfectly orchestrated media story. When everyone is assembled, we reveal everything. The poisoning, the recordings, the conspiracy. I know it's risky. I know it sounds like a scene from a movie. But Emily has spent months crafting a public narrative that protects her. We need to use that same public stage to expose her. I'll get to the hospital somehow, even if I have to walk out of this house when security isn't looking. Be ready for anything. Emily is desperate, and desperate people are unpredictable. Love you both. Tell Jonah I'm proud of him. Noah. I looked up from the screen, meeting Leo's troubled gaze. This is incredibly dangerous, he said quietly. So many things could go wrong. Do we have a choice? I asked. If we don't show up, Emily will spin it as abandonment. If we try to stop the surgery through official channels, her father will block us. Noah's right. We need to confront them publicly, where they can't control the narrative. Leo ran a hand through his hair, frustration evident. I don't like putting you at risk, Mom. Or Jonah. I'm already at risk, I reminded him. And so is Noah. Emily and her father have been methodically poisoning him for months. They plan to do the same to me after the transplant. If we don't stop them now, when? My phone rang again. This time it was Emily. I showed the screen to Leo, who nodded grimly. Answer it. Act normal. Concerned but committed to the surgery. I took a deep breath and pressed the answer button. Hello? Ruth. Emily's voice was controlled, but with an undercurrent of tension. I've been trying to reach you. Is everything all right? Yes, just resting before tomorrow, I replied, trying to keep my voice steady. Is Noah okay? He sounded tired earlier. A slight pause. He's resting now. The events of the day were overwhelming for him. His medication makes him confused sometimes. The casual way she referenced drugging my son made my blood boil, but I maintained my composure. I see. Well, I'll be ready when the car comes tomorrow. Good. Relief colored her tone. There have been some changes to the surgical team, but nothing to worry about. The procedure will go forward as scheduled. I'll be there, I assured her, the lie bitter on my tongue. Wonderful. Oh, and Ruth? Have you seen Jonah today? He seems to have left school early and we can't locate him. I met Jonah's wide eyes across the room. No, I haven't. Is everything okay? Just a misunderstanding with the school. If you do hear from him, please let me know immediately. Of course, I promised smoothly. Family first, after all. After the call ended, I felt physically ill from the deception, from the casual way Emily spoke while orchestrating such calculated harm. She suspects, Leo said. Not a question, but a statement. Yes, but she needs this surgery to happen. It's the linchpin of her plan. Leo checked his watch. It's almost 8. We should get some rest if we're going through with this tomorrow. Rest seemed impossible under the circumstances, but he was right. Tomorrow would require all our strength, all our resolve. As I prepared the guest room for Jonah, I found him sitting on the edge of the bed, staring at the phone in his hands, the device containing the evidence that might save his father. Are you still sure about tomorrow? I asked gently. He looked up, his eyes much older than his years. Dad always says that courage isn't about not being scared. It's about doing the right thing even when you are scared. I sat beside him, putting my arm around his small shoulders. Your dad is a very wise man. Mom used to say he was weak, Jonah confided, when she thought I couldn't hear. She told Grandpa Rhodes that Dad's conscience made him easy to control. The casual cruelty of it, not just to Noah but to this child who absorbed more than they realized, made my heart ache. What do you think? I asked him. About your dad? Jonah considered this seriously. I think being kind isn't the same as being weak. I think Dad sees the good in people, even when it's not there. He paused. Like with Mom, out of the mouths of babes indeed. I hugged him close. This remarkable child who saw so clearly what many adults miss. Tomorrow will be difficult, I told him honestly. But whatever happens, remember that you are loved. By your dad, by Uncle Leo, by me. Nothing can change that. He nodded against my shoulder. I know. That's why we have to help Dad. Because love means protecting people, not hurting them. As I turned out the light and left him to sleep, I wondered at the wisdom in his young heart. Whatever mistakes Noah had made in his choice of partner, he had raised a son with extraordinary morals. Clarity. Tomorrow would bring our final confrontation with Emily and her father. The stage was set, the players positioned. All that remained was to see if truth and justice would prevail over power and deception. I checked my phone one last time before trying to sleep myself. There was a new text from Noah. I'm safe. At Leo's apartment. Police arrived in time. Everything proceeds as planned. Tomorrow. Love you, Mom. A small mercy in this storm of betrayal. I closed my eyes, trying to prepare myself for what morning would bring. The hospital car arrived at precisely 6 in the morning, a sleek black sedan with tinted windows. The driver was professionally distant, offering no conversation beyond a polite greeting. As planned, I entered the vehicle alone, leaving Leo to follow separately. With Jonah. My overnight bag rested on my lap, containing nothing I would actually need for a kidney donation, but rather changes of clothes and the documents Noah had forwarded, evidence of Emily's elaborate poisoning scheme. My hands trembled slightly, but I kept my expression placid. Years of teaching 5th graders had given me an excellent poker face. The hospital entrance was crowded with reporters and cameras despite the early hour. Emily stood at the top of the steps in a tailored navy suit, her blonde hair gleaming under the lights, her expression a perfect mask of concerned devotion. Ruth, she greeted me warmly as I approached, embracing me for the benefit of the flashing cameras. How brave you are this morning. Where's Noah? I asked, maintaining the script while scanning the crowd. Already inside, being prepped, she replied smoothly. He's a bit confused today. The medication, you understand. The doctors thought it best to begin early. A lie, of course. According to our last communication, Noah was with Detective Morales, preparing to arrive at the crucial moment. Emily guided me through the gauntlet of reporters, fielding questions with practiced ease. Yes, we're deeply grateful for Ruth's sacrifice. The bond between mother and son is truly sacred. No, the last-minute change in surgical team is simply to accommodate scheduling conflicts. We expect a full recovery for both patients. The performance was flawless. If I hadn't heard her coldly discussing my dispensability on Jonah's recording, I might have believed the concern in her voice myself. Inside, away from the cameras, her demeanor cooled noticeably. The surgical team is waiting. Try not to waste their time with questions. Everything has been thoroughly vetted. By whom? I couldn't resist asking. Something flickered in her eyes. Irritation. Perhaps warning. By professionals who understand the gravity of Noah's condition better than a retired schoolteacher might. She escorted me to a preparation room where a nurse I didn't recognize waited with admission paperwork. Emily remained present as I filled out forms, her watchful gaze never leaving my hands. Mrs. Rhodes Holloway, a hospital administrator, appeared at the door. Your father is asking for you in the conference room. Something about the press statement? Emily hesitated, clearly reluctant to leave me unsupervised. Go ahead, I encouraged her with a smile I didn't feel. I'm not going anywhere. After another moment's hesitation, she nodded briskly. I'll return before they take you to the operating room. The anesthesiologist will be in shortly. The moment she departed, the nurse's professional demeanor shifted subtly. Mrs. Holloway, she said in a low voice, Dr. Langston asked me to assist you. I'm Nurse Patel. We don't have much time. Relief flooded through me. You know what's happening? She nodded, glancing toward the door. Dr. Langston shared his concerns with select staff members he trusts. We're prepared to support the intervention, but timing is critical. She handed me a hospital gown. Change into this. I'll wait outside. When they come to transport you to the OR, I'll be your escort. Dr. Langston will enter at 6:55 precisely. The pieces were falling into place. I changed quickly, my heart pounding against my ribs. Through the preparation room's small window, I caught a glimpse of the hospital's central hallway, where Leo had appeared with Jonah, both dressed formally as if attending an important event rather than participating in a dangerous confrontation. Nurse Patel, returned, helping me onto the gurney that would transport me to the operating room. "Mrs. Rhodes Holloway has returned to the preparation area," she murmured. "She's bringing the new surgical team to introduce them." "Is Noah here yet?" I whispered back. "Your younger son reports that he's in the building with police representatives. They're timing their entrance to coincide with Dr. Langston's." Emily reappeared with two surgeons I didn't recognize, a tall man with silver hair and a younger woman whose eyes never quite met mine. Neither offered their credentials or expressed the usual pre-surgical reassurances. "Everything is proceeding perfectly," Emily announced, her smile tight and triumphant. "These are Doctors Weber and Patel who will be performing the procedure. We should move to, the operating room now. The press has been allowed into the observation area for the first few minutes, a special arrangement to document this extraordinary gift. Of course, the final act in her public relations performance, a gallery of witnesses to my sacrifice and her orchestration of it all. Except the audience would witness something very different than what she had planned. As they wheeled me toward the operating theater, I caught sight of Leo and Jonah moving parallel down an adjacent hallway. Jonah clutched his uncle's hand, his small face pale but determined. The operating room was blindingly bright, sterile and cold. Medical staff moved with practiced efficiency, arranging instruments, checking monitors. Through the glass observation window above, I could see a gathering of people, hospital board members, I assumed, along with select media representatives. Emily's father stood among them, his expression impassive as he surveyed the scene below. Emily positioned herself at the head of the operating table as they transferred me from the gurney. "We're almost ready," she murmured, more to herself than to me. "Noah is being brought in momentarily." The anesthesiologist approached with his tray of medications and needles. "We'll begin with a mild sedative to help you relax before the general anesthesia," he explained, preparing a syringe. My pulse raced. Once I was unconscious, there would be no stopping whatever Emily and her father had planned. I needed to delay. "I'd like to see my son first," I requested, my voice stronger than I expected. "Before the procedure begins." Emily's smile tightened. "He's being prepped in another room, Ruth. There isn't time." "I insist," I said firmly. "I won't proceed without seeing Noah." The anesthesiologist paused, looking between us uncertainly. Emily leaned closer, her voice dropping to a whisper. "Don't create a scene, Ruth. Not with all these witnesses. It would be unfortunate for everyone." The threat hung in the air between us. But before I could respond, the operating room door swung open. Dr. Langston strode in, followed by a hospital administrator who looked distinctly uncomfortable. "I apologize for the intrusion," Dr. Langston announced, his voice carrying clearly throughout the room and up to the observation area. "But I have critical information regarding this procedure that must be addressed immediately." Emily's face flushed with anger. "You were removed from this case, Dr. Langston. Please leave before I call security." "I was removed," he agreed calmly, "after discovering concerning anomalies in Noah Holloway's blood work, specifically the presence of compounds that artificially accelerate kidney deterioration." A murmur spread through the operating room and observation area. Emily laughed, the sound brittle. "This is absurd. My husband's condition has been thoroughly documented by specialists." "Specialists chosen by you," Dr. Langston countered, pulling a folder from beneath his arm. "I have here independent toxicology reports confirming the presence of these compounds, as well as testimony from staff at Mr. Holloway's residence regarding unusual medications administered outside of his prescribed regimen." Emily's father stepped forward in the observation area, pressing a button on the intercom. "This is outrageous. I want this man removed immediately." But the surgical team had paused, uncertainty visible even behind their masks. The younger surgeon, Dr. Patel, stepped back from the table, eyes wide, and then the operating room door opened again. Noah entered, pale but standing on his own, with Detective Morales at his side and two uniformed officers behind them. "I think everyone should hear what my son recorded his mother saying," Noah announced, his voice quiet but carrying clearly in the suddenly silent room. "And then we can discuss why my wife has been systematically poisoning me for the past 6 months." Emily's perfect composure cracked. "Noah, you're confused. The medication has been making me sicker by design," he finished for her, "to ensure I would become dependent enough for you to secure power of attorney, to guarantee control of my assets, my career, everything we've built." "This is ridiculous," Emily's father barked through the intercom. "My daughter has been nothing but devoted." The operating room door opened a third time. Leo entered with Jonah, who clutched the old smartphone in his small hand. Emily's face drained of color. Jonah? What are you? I think it's time everyone heard the truth, Mom, Jonah said, his voice trembling but determined. The truth about what you and Grandpa Rhodes have been doing to Dad. He pressed play on the phone, and Emily's cold, calculating voice filled the operating room, discussing dosages and timelines, power of attorney, and handling Ruth after the transplant. The silence that followed was absolute. The recording ended, leaving a stillness so profound I could hear the electronic beep of monitors, the hushed breathing of everyone in the room. Emily stood frozen, her carefully constructed facade crumbling before our eyes. That's clearly doctored, she finally stammered, looking toward her father in the observation gallery. Noah, tell them how confused you've been lately. Noah stepped forward, steel in his voice despite his weakened state. The only confusion I've experienced is from the compounds you've been adding to my food and drink for months. Compounds that don't appear in any of my prescribed medications. Detective Morales moved to Emily's side. Mrs. Rhodes Holloway, we have a warrant for your arrest on charges of attempted murder, conspiracy, and fraud. We also have a warrant to search your residence and personal belongings. She nodded to the officers who had accompanied them. Please place Mrs. Rhodes Holloway under arrest. Emily backed away, desperation replacing her usual composure. This is insane! Daddy, do something! In the observation gallery, her father had already begun edging toward the exit, only to find his path blocked by additional police officers entering the space. Mr. Rhodes, called Detective Morales, officers are waiting to escort you as well. We have evidence of your direct involvement in this conspiracy, including financial transactions with unlicensed pharmaceutical suppliers. As the officers approached Emily with handcuffs, she lunged suddenly toward Jonah, her face contorted with rage. You little traitor! After everything I've done for you! Noah moved faster than seemed possible in his weakened state, stepping between his wife and son. Don't you dare, he said, his voice low and dangerous. You've done enough damage to this family. Leo I pulled Jonah safely behind him as the officers restrained Emily, who had dissolved into incoherent accusations and threats. The medical staff watched in stunned silence as she was led from the room, still screaming about betrayal and ingratitude. I sat up on the operating table, the unnecessary surgery forgotten in the chaos of revelations and arrests. Dr. Langston approached, helping me down with a steadying hand. Are you all right, Mrs. Holloway? Yes, I said, though my legs felt unsteady beneath me. Is it really over? The immediate danger, yes, he confirmed. But your son will need proper medical care to reverse the damage that's been done. And there will be legal proceedings, of course. Noah came to my side, embracing me with trembling arms. Mom, I'm so sorry. I had no idea. I never thought Emily could— I know, I interrupted gently. None of us saw the full truth until it was almost too late. Jonah approached cautiously, the phone still clutched in his small hand. Dad, are you going to be okay now? Noah knelt, drawing his son into a fierce embrace. Yes, buddy. Thanks to you. You were the bravest person in this room today. The boy buried his face against his father's shoulder. I was really scared. That's what makes it brave, Noah told him. Doing the right thing even when you're terrified. Detective Morales returned, her expression grave but satisfied. Both Emily Rhodes Holloway and Edward Rhodes are in custody. We'll need formal statements from all of you, but that can wait until tomorrow. Mr. Holloway, we should get you to a different medical facility immediately for detoxification and proper treatment. I'll come with you, I said immediately. Noah smiled weakly. No more hospitals for you today, Mom. Leo can bring you and Jonah once I'm settled. As medical staff prepared to transport Noah to an ambulance waiting outside, Dr. Langston pulled me aside. The kidney damage is significant but not irreversible, he told me quietly. With proper treatment and time, he should recover substantial function. But it was a close call, Mrs. Holloway. A few more weeks of those compounds, or if the transplant had proceeded as Emily planned, he didn't need to finish the thought. I shuddered, imagining how differently this day might have ended without Jonah's courage and Leo's persistence. Thank you, I said, grasping his hand, for suspecting something was wrong, for not ignoring your instincts. I've been a transplant surgeon for 30 years, he replied. I've seen family dynamics turn toxic around illness and money, but I've never seen something this calculated. He shook his head. Medicine is built on trust. What happened here violated every principle of care and humanity. By afternoon, The story had exploded across news outlets. The narrative Emily had so carefully constructed of maternal sacrifice and familial devotion was replaced by the shocking truth of her calculated poisoning and attempted murder. Hospital security had to keep reporters at bay as we left the building, Leo's arm supporting me, Jonah's small hand clutched in mine. The days that followed passed in a blur of police statements, medical, consultations, and legal meetings. Noah was transferred to a specialized toxicology unit where doctors worked to purge the harmful compounds from his system and begin repairing the damage to his kidneys. Emily and her father were denied bail, considered flight risks due to their considerable resources and the severity of the charges. A week after that fateful morning in the operating room, I sat beside Noah's hospital bed, watching him sleep peacefully for perhaps the first time in months. The color had begun returning to his face, his breathing deeper and more regular. "He looks better," Leo observed, entering with coffee cups for both of us. "Doctor says the latest tests show significant improvement." "Where's Jonah?" I asked, accepting the cup gratefully. "With the child psychologist. He's doing remarkably well, all things considered, but they want to make sure he has proper support." I nodded, thinking of the burden my grandson had carried, the knowledge of his mother's betrayal, the responsibility of saving his father. He shouldn't have had to be so brave. "No child should," Leo agreed, "but he's resilient. And he has us now, all of us, focused on healing rather than appearances or ambition." Noah stirred, his eyes opening slowly. "Hey," he murmured, seeing us both. "Family meeting?" "Just keeping you company," I replied, squeezing his hand. "The prosecutor called," Leo told him. "They've found extensive evidence in Emily's emails and financial records. The case is solid. She was planning this for over a year. The gradual poisoning, the kidney failure, securing power of attorney, and eventually control of everything." Noah closed his eyes briefly. "And after the transplant? The same compounds were ordered for Mom," Leo confirmed gently. "In larger doses. They weren't planning to be subtle the second time around." The realization of how close we had come to disaster hung heavy in the room. "I keep asking myself how I missed it," Noah said quietly. "How? I never saw what she really was." "She showed you what you wanted to see," I replied. "We all have blind spots when it comes to those we love." "Love," he repeated hollowly. "I'm not sure that's what it was, in the end. Ambition, maybe. Status. The idea of a perfect life rather than the reality of building one together." A knock at the door interrupted our conversation. Jonah entered, followed by his therapist, who gave us a reassuring nod before departing. "Dad!" The boy's face lit up at seeing his father awake. He approached the bed cautiously, mindful of the IV lines and monitors. Noah opened his arms. "There's my hero. Come here, buddy." Jonah climbed carefully onto the bed, settling against his father's side. "The doctor said your kidneys are getting better." "They are," Noah confirmed. "No transplant needed after all. Just time and the right medicine." "And no more of Mom's special tea?" Jonah asked, his perceptions still unnervingly accurate. "No more of that," Noah assured him. "Just the medications Dr. Langston prescribed." Jonah nodded, considering this. "Is Mom ever coming home?" The question hung in the air, heartbreaking in its simplicity. Noah met my eyes briefly before answering. "Nobody. What Mom did was very wrong, dangerous and illegal. She'll have to face consequences for those choices." "Like a timeout, but for grown-ups?" Jonah asked. Despite everything, I felt a smile tug at my lips. "Something like that. A very long timeout. Will we be okay without her?" His small voice carried the uncertainty of a child whose world had been upended. Noah hugged him closer. "We're going to be more than okay. We have each other. We have Grandma and Uncle Leo. We have the truth now instead of secrets and pretending. And we have you," Leo added, ruffling Jonah's hair. "The bravest kid I know." 1 month later, we gathered in my modest backyard in Maplewood. The summer evening was warm, fireflies beginning to appear as dusk descended. Noah sat in an Adirondack chair, still thinner than before, but gaining strength daily. Jonah and Leo were setting up a telescope on the lawn, preparing to observe the night sky. "Do you remember when we used to do this?" Noah asked me as I brought him a glass of lemonade. "Stargazing in this very yard when I was Jonah's age?" "Of course," I smiled. "You knew every constellation, had big dreams of becoming an astronaut. Before politics and power became more attractive," he said ruefully. before I lost sight of what really mattered. I sat beside him, watching Leo patiently explain the telescope's mechanics to Jonah. It's never too late to remember, Noah. To realign your stars, so to speak, he chuckled. Cosmic Navigation by Ruth Holloway. I was a pretty good teacher, you know. The best, he agreed, his expression growing serious. Mom, I can never thank you enough for seeing what I couldn't, for fighting for me when I didn't even know I needed saving. I reached for his hand. That's what mothers do. Not sacrifice blindly when others demand it, but protect fiercely when it truly matters. As night fell completely, we gathered around the telescope, taking turns viewing Jupiter's moons and Saturn's rings. Jonah's excitement at each discovery was contagious, his natural curiosity flourishing now that he was free from the stifling perfectionism of Emily's household. Later, after Jonah had fallen asleep on the couch and Leo had gone home, Noah and I sat on the porch swing, the same one he'd helped his father hang decades ago. I've been thinking about what comes next, he said. After the trial, after the divorce is finalized. And I'm stepping away from politics and consulting, selling the big house. Jonah and I are looking at places here in Maplewood, actually. Surprise and pleasure warmed me. Back to your roots? He nodded. Back to what's real. I want Jonah to have a childhood, not a performance. I want him to know his worth isn't measured in appearances or achievements, but in kindness and courage. Like the courage he showed for you, I observed. Like the courage you both showed, Noah corrected, when it mattered most. We sat in comfortable silence for a while, the porch swing creaking gently beneath us. You know, I said finally, I never did give you my kidney. Noah laughed, a genuine laugh, perhaps the first I'd heard from him in years. Thank God for that. Although technically, I think you did give me something more important. What's that? He looked at me, his eyes clear and present in a way they hadn't been during all those months of subtle poisoning and manipulation. You gave me back my life, my real life, not the carefully curated version Emily designed. I squeezed his hand, thinking of the operating room, of Jonah's small voice playing the damning recording of truth finally cutting through deception like a surgeon's scalpel. In the end, I told him, I gave something far more powerful than a kidney. What's that? He asked. My voice, my truth, my boundaries. I looked toward the window where Jonah slept peacefully, and we reclaimed something that no one, not even the rich or manipulative, can take from a family that's awake. Our dignity, Noah finished softly. Exactly, I agreed. And that's worth more than any kidney.